Welcome everyone. I'm Lee Oden, CEO of Top Rank Marketing, and I'm your New York host of Semrush's Global Marketing Day Conference. If you want to see the great conversations that are happening around past sessions, make sure that you check out the conference hashtag Global Marketing Day. You can also join by going to globalmarketingday.com and post your own questions and interact with other members of our community. We've been speaking about a wide variety of topics, including the best way to approach business video, optimizing for voice search, and editorial content. So many things have been covered. But let's go back to SEO because it's time to look at the data. Our next speaker is Mr. Mike Grehan, CMO and Managing Director of Acronym. Mike is the SEO pioneer, author, world traveler, and keynote speaker, and was the former publisher of Search Engine Watch and ClickZ, and he also wrote the intro to my book, Optimize. So thank you for that, Mike.
Great book.
It's a great book. It's a great intro. We are also joined by a panel of SEO and data experts, and I'm excited about this. We have Alex Kuntz, Group Director, SEO at Performix. And we also have Hamlet Batista, CEO and founder at RankSense. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Hey, guys.
A little bit more about Alex. He's, as I mentioned, he's at Performix. He's based in New York with over 7 years of search marketing experience in large media agencies and publishers. Hamlet, as I mentioned, is founder of RankSense, an agile SEO platform for online retailers and manufacturers, and he believes great SEO results should not take 6 months. All right. It's time to explore the numbers with SEO because it's all about the data, baby. Take it away, Mike.
All right, thank you very much. Great to be here. You can probably see a lot about me here, some of the stuff that Lee just mentioned. I am thrilled to be here, of course, because it is Global Marketing Day, courtesy of Semrush or Semrush, depending on which part of the world you're in and how you prefer to pronounce it. And here we are sitting in the shadow of the iconic Empire State Building, which is where my office is with Acronym, the global headquarters for Acronym Media. And today it's all about the data, baby. What does that mean? Well, what's the difference between information retrieval and data retrieval? Let's find out. But to do that, first of all, I need to take you back, way back in time, to a time when everybody was getting very excited about this and this and this and this. And I was getting very excited about Michael Jackson's Thriller 2 and all about Annie Lennox and Sting and Police and Boy George doing whatever that is he's doing right there. And yes, that is me right in the middle, way back in 1983. And I was a radio DJ back in the day. Very popular. If you ask my mom, she would tell you that. And I was very excited about what I was doing at the time. What I didn't know is in another part of the world, something very, very exciting was happening for somebody else. And this would have a major dramatic change in my life. So this is Jerry Salton, who is the father of modern information retrieval. He wrote this book, the Modern Information Retrieval. I didn't realize then, but more than 15 years later, I would read this book, and that's what would transform my life completely. So, what is information retrieval? That's the first question. There is this very kind of concise little note from Jerry Salton himself. Information retrieval is a field concerned with the structure, analysis, organization, storage, searching and retrieval of information. Information is the most important word in there. So what is data retrieval? I didn't actually have a concise thing to go with this, so I wrote this myself, and it goes on forever. But data retrieval has been around for a long time, since back in the 60s. The most important thing there, though, is databases contain highly structured data, the difference between information and structured data. Let's put them side by side, take a look at a comparison. What is the big difference? Well, you can see in data type, for database systems, it's numbers, it's short strings, as SEOs know for information retrieval on the web. It's all about the text. From a search paradigm, it's Boolean logic, Boolean retrieval for databases, and obviously it's ranked retrieval for search on the online, and especially for SEO. And of course, that final thing there for users of databases usually are programmers. They're using a structured language, and for information retrieval, apparently any old nitwit can use a search engine. So what's the problem? What is it that Google is trying to solve? Well, the web is kind of an ocean of all of this human-generated, unstructured data. We have this kind of habit, I think, in the industry of talking about Google's database. But given that I've been studying information retrieval for a long time, it is much better to start and think about Google's index in the way that a librarian would think about it. Indeed, there is a lot of library science that's included there. So it's about the index, which is a tiered index to begin with. It's about the corpus. It's about taxonomy. It's about bringing all of these documents together and trying to make sense of them. From an SEO point of view, this is what we're interested in, and this is basically what information retrieval and web search is all about. It's these three things. It's about page content, hyperlink analysis, and usage data, end user data. And I've been talking about this since I wrote my first book on SEO 18 years ago, believe it or not. And I'm still using this slide, although cosmetically it looks a little bit different. Page content, be an expert. Know your stuff when you're writing your content. Hyperlink analysis, again, links are still really important. It's more about the quality of the link, not so much the quantity. Think about that. And it's also great at discovering communities, and you need to be right in the center of your community to pick up these links. And usage data, yes, it's all about the end user. The two strongest signals I think that Google has right now are certainly GPS and also user access. And don't think for a second that I'm saying here it's about clicks. It's not about clicks. It's about a pattern of usage data. So sum that up, page content, be experts, hyperlink analysis, be an authority on what you're doing, and usage data. If people trust the content you create, they'll read that content. I know a lot about acronyms. Here's one that came up recently. I think it kind of fits what I've been talking about for the past 18 years. It may be new to Google raters, but it's certainly not new to me. So two subsets below information retrieval. One of them, of course, which is getting a lot of attention right now, is natural language processing, NLP. Take a look at what's important about that, particularly with digital assistants. We're looking at sentiment analysis. We're looking at voice-activated queries and question answering. But on the right-hand side of that slide, you can see it's all about information extraction. Yes, Google did announce something big happened last week. Everybody seems to be talking about it. I had to do the same as a lot of other people. I went directly to the top, to the leading expert in the world, to find out what his opinion is. And of course, basically what he's saying is he's already over it, and you should be too. Even if you're the New York Times, I don't not think that Bert did that. In fact, I would like you all to say these words after me. Bert won't hurt, honestly, if you're doing the right thing. Second subset is the semantic web. Again, the web was invented by Sir Tim Berners-Lee when he went back to take a look at it again, looking at all of the unstructured data, but then coming up with this notion that if we put this structured data together, that we would be able to link data together much better. We would be talking about entities, things that are connected. That's people, places, events. And there are, in terms of knowledge representation, there are languages in there that you can see. I don't have enough time to go into all of that, but I will give you a link at the end where you can go and find out more about that. One of the questions that I get asked a lot when I talk about the difference between information retrieval and data retrieval is describe what machine readable means. And I was just talking to the guys earlier on, and I said I just came back from a short trip to Spain, and I was standing in the line at the airport, and I was looking at my passport and thinking, there isn't a guy in the booth here. I'm literally going to go up to this booth with my passport, put it into a machine, and the machine will read it. So that's actually what a modern web page is going to be like. The top part, humans can read that. The bottom part is specifically for machines. In terms of entity search, yeah, well, we've been talking about it for a long while. Informally, an entity is a thing or an object. That was written by Christian Balog, who is probably one of the leading authorities in the industry, in the search industry. But an entity is an object or a concept in the real world that can be directly identified. Swiftly moving on, as you can see in the laptop in that particular slide there, that's a screenshot that I took of a search about cookies so many years ago. 10 blue links, not even a paid search result there. Moving on a little bit further until we had something that they call universal search. It started to look like that. But now with entity search, for instance, searching for a person like Pele, who is a world famous footballer, or was, as you know, you can see the big difference there in the way you get this presentation. So the first paragraph on the right is important. Google search works hard to understand the content of a page. You can help by providing explicit clues about the meaning of a page. Now, I could go on and look at a lot more screenshots and talk over them, but what I actually did is I found a presentation that the two guys who wrote this quote, the two Google developers, who wrote this quote, doing a short presentation about how important structured data is in search. So instead of me talking about it, we're going to go to the movies and watch a short video.
So before, and in fact until now in many cases, what you have, if you put a search like dessert recipes, is a set of links that you can explore, you can try out, and you have some snippets that try to give you an idea of what is behind those links. But users that land on your page once they click don't have enough context, and it's not clear their intent. So we try to make this better. The idea of rich cards is that there are visual modules that organize the information on what used to be a blue link in such a way that it's simpler to read, more visually appealing, and easier to navigate. These cards were sometimes organized into carousels like you see here, so you would be able to scroll right and left and sort of see some possible visual answers to your query. And now, so for instance, you can refine your query and say, well, not only I want a strawberry tart recipe, I want one that's gluten-free. And this way, what happens is that somebody who clicks on this has a very clear intent of what they want to get. Now, what happens, however, is that in addition to all the information that Google has in its knowledge engine, what happens is that we use a lot of third-party structured data to power this. And what that means is that there's an opportunity for you. If you have a site where you have relevant information, you can try to organize that site and optimize its performance in such a way that you can participate in these features. What we have found is that the sites that implement structured data typically see increased click-through rates and increased engagement. In other words, the users that come to you are better users. So for example, here is one use case that we found. Rotten Tomatoes implemented structured data in more than 100,000 of their pages that attracted billions of impressions. But the more interesting part is that these pages resulted in 25% higher click-through rate, which is really very hard to achieve with any other means, compared with the pages they have that didn't have structured data. In other words, you can do these and there's sort of good results for you. Later on, we're going to have more case studies that will explain the details. Now, in the remainder of this talk, we're going to teach you how you can use structured data to optimize your site's performance. We're going to tell you, how you can use this to stand out, pick up the right markup that you're going to put on your site, and how to measure the impact once you implement this. Now, next, Duncan is going to talk to you about how structured data appears on Google Search and give you more details.
Thanks, Andre. Hi there, I'm Duncan Osborne. I'm a product manager on Search. So Andre is going to get into how you implement and measure structured data in just a second. But I thought first we'd go through some of the features that we built that utilize structured data so that you can see how it then appears to users. And then we'll go through the implementation later. So we have quite a broad set of verticals that support features that have structured data in them. I'll go through just a couple examples, but I guess the key here is there are a fairly large number of verticals supported now, and we have a good set of partners in each one. So there's a good base to learn from, and we're constantly thinking of new verticals to roll out structured data features into. So I chose just a couple queries to show off structured data. These are just random from my search history. Let's get started from recipes. So this is a great example of a vertical where we've invested in structured data features at several levels, namely the page level, the domain level, and finally the result level. And so I'll walk through one of each of those. This is at page level. So in this case, what we've done is we've taken all of the recipe leaf results, as we call them, which just means a single recipe result, And we assemble them into a single carousel at the top of the page, which makes it easy for users to access all of the recipe results in one single place and make their decision and finally land on the one that they've chosen. You can see here that we're featuring several different kinds of structured data. First, we have the rating, we have the calorie count, and we have the cook time. All of those are sourced directly from the markup on the third-party site. It's also important to note that one click away from this experience is another interface that we've even more heavily optimized for browsing large numbers of recipes in this case. And here, again, we're using the same types of markup, but we've just restructured them so that they fit better in the UX that we've chosen in this case. One other thing that's important is we see several visual ramifications of structured data here in terms of rating and calorie count. But what's behind this experience is actually the markup at the page level, which tells us that it's a leaf result, a recipe page. And so that allows us to make decisions about how we then present them to users. So both kinds are important, the signal and finally how we decorate that result for users. So that's at page level. Now we move to domain level. At this point, we're assembling all of the results, but they're results that are in a single listing page of recipes, which by definition comes from a single domain. So instead of concatenating many different domains in one place, we now give the site owner a single property for their content. So once again, we've reflowed all of the content you see here in terms of ratings, cook time, calories, just in a smaller card format. So a good example of how we're fairly flexible and how we display this data. But the other interesting point here is that this list of content is customizable both in content and in order. And that gives you a fairly visible level of control over how your results appear in search, which is pretty cool. Okay, that's domain. And finally, at the result level, if we have a result that ranks that's just a single leaf page, we won't just leave it as a blue link. We'll use any data that we have to decorate that result so that it looks really good and also allows users to make decisions directly on the search results page.
All right, I thought that was very instructional, easier to have somebody from Google, straight from the horse's mouth, explain just how important this stuff is. So, quickly wrapping it up, what have we learned so far? What's the difference between information retrieval and data retrieval? Well, data retrieval provides a solution to a user of a database system. It doesn't solve the problem of retrieving information about a particular subject. The other question, what are the major benefits of adding structured data to web pages? You've just seen all of that in the video that came from the Google engineers. Explicit clues that you can give about the actual content itself become part of the knowledge graph. And then the final thing, I guess, is do you need to be a coder? Can anybody do this? Well, probably a good idea to find a developer. If you've got one, you can go to Google at that link and find as much information as you want. Or you could come and ask me. I'm that kind of guy. I'll help you out with anything you need. Final thing from me, I think that there will be a natural shift from search engine optimization, from SEO, to what I refer to as content experience analyst. You can see the difference, the major difference you can make to content by using structured data. And my final point on data is one of the greatest quotes that I've ever read, and I'm going to leave you with that one. Oh.
Well, there we go. All right, well, thank you, Mike. Well, folks will have to get a copy of that presentation to get the rest of that quote, or you can just tell us what the quote is.
So it says, data is not information, information is not knowledge, knowledge is not understanding, understanding is not wisdom.
Well, there we go.
There you are.
Thank you for that peek into how marketers are thinking or should be thinking about unstructured data. So we've got lots of questions for our panelists. So for Alex and Hamlet, I'm curious, so what Mike was talking about is a big overview, very in-depth, and I'm wondering for the application standpoint, is this appropriate for any website? Any, what's the ideal situation? And obviously you have e-commerce sites with a lot of big databases, but does this apply to a small business website with only 100 pages? What insights can you share?
Yeah, so I think it does. Ultimately, anytime you can give Google more context about the purpose and really intent that your content is fulfilling, whether it's a product page or something more top of funnel and instructional, you can definitely benefit from that. I think the other aspect to it is, as Mike mentioned in his presentation, the SERP is continuously changing. We're seeing knowledge graph come in, we're seeing answers come in, we're seeing reviews come in, searches that end up with clicks are going down, which I think is a big thing that we've been hearing in the industry. So making sure that the website that you have and the content that you have can still provide a meaningful experience with your consumers, is definitely the overall goal there. And structured data and schema specifically can help that kind of regardless of the size of your business.
Okay.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's for all businesses because there's always going to be at least one data structure. There's at least going to be one of them that you can use. For example, the breadcrumbs. Any site will need them to guide users. Mm-hmm. Or if you have a physical business, the location, where it is, what street, and the reviews, the feedback, anything that you can provide, any business could benefit. It doesn't matter what it is.
So while search engines are increasingly getting more sophisticated, and obviously the BERT and AI and all that are coming to bear, and they're getting better at doing what they do, there's still a significant opportunity for publishers to make it easier for Google and other search engines to do the job that they need to do. And I'm curious, as SEOs, practitioners, you always have checklists when you do audits, and I'm sure there's a schema section, right? What is the low-hanging fruit? Like, what are the must-haves in terms of markup, structured data markup types, or I'm probably messing up my characterization of that, but like, what are the fundamental things that you're going to make sure that every business is doing in terms of how they use markup and to give signals of structured data to a search engine?
Yeah, and they change by business, right? But assuming that you have small mom and pop shop, at least you want to have first of all, you want to make sure that you're in the Google My Business, right? If you have the Google My Business, and then you're providing the relevant information about your location, your hours of operation, so that Google can use that information. Because a lot of times people think about Google just about the web search, but Google Maps is another search engine, which is about looking for you physically. Mm-hmm. Everybody's using mobile phones, so they're going to be searching for you, and if your Google Map result is relevant, it's going to show up. So the more information you provide Google about, if you have even pictures, photos about the inside and outside of your business, you can annotate those and make sure that you have the proper structured data so that you show up, with relevant information. Somebody doesn't know whether you are open or not, they can actually leverage that information in Google. Oh, they're going to be open, or they're closing in 10 minutes. That's fantastic information you can provide.
Yep, and I think from the agency side, we work with large enterprise clients. If you think about industries like telecom or financial services, it really varies within that business, right? So if, say, it's a bank or a retailer, you've got, how do I open up an ATM account, or how do I use an ATM? Very informational, something that you may want to pull through as a featured snippet in the search results there, all the way down to branch locations, which Hamlet went into in terms of NAP information, name, address, phone. And then there's really a navigational aspect to it in between. He mentioned breadcrumbs. We mentioned speakable, obviously, with voice, brand information, customer service phone numbers. So, depending on the intent of the user and depending on where they're interacting with the website, as Hamlin mentioned, I think in the first question, there's always going to be a bit of schema that's relevant. So when we analyze that across the site, there is foundational aspects that you should have, right. But it really does vary by segment or by the portion of the website you're looking at.
Okay, great. Well, here's a question from our community. They're asking, what can you do with schema markup to improve the performance of content?
Well, content, you need the headline and you need the content, right? So, and each one, copywriters said it's 50-50. People don't get compelled but to click to read your content because the headline is not compelling, it's not speaking to them. That's one of the lowest hanging fruit, right? Your schema can drive click-through rate, because one of the obvious things that you can get from improving the richness of the search results is getting more people to click on them.
Yep.
So I think if I could just add to that, one of the things that's most important within that presentation is looking at the difference between information retrieval in the classic sense about getting the page content right, getting the links right, and getting some of that end user traction, which is really important. But one of the things that you'll have heard one of the Google engineers say before, and it was very relevant, that if you start to rank, that's when they'll start to decorate you. Okay, so you've got to get it in that order. in terms of adding, schema to it. Schema itself is not going to help you rank, but once you've got those fundamentals in place, and then you do have cookie recipes that have all of the ingredients and all of those kind of things, or if it is a local business, virtually updating in real time. This is when you help Google, and then Google is going to help you. So they use the word decorate. Take the content, you get a better presentation. The better the presentation is, the more end user data, the better you begin to rank again. So it's kind of a mutually reinforcing thing.
Great. That insight is exceptional, and I'm sure very much appreciated by everyone tuning in. So it was great having you guys here, and I'm sure there's lots more conversation that could be had. And please, everyone, keep that conversation going with the hashtag Global Marketing Day. So I want to thank Mike Grehan, CMO and Managing Director of Acronym, Alex Kuntz, Group Director of SEO Performance, and Hamlet Batista, CEO and founder of RankSense. Thank you very much.